Good morning. We're going to continue on with Unit 10 and talk about how to identify key features of quadratic equations or functions from a table. You'll see an example to the right here. We are not actually going to answer the question as it relates to those points because we're going to do that in example 1, but we are going to kind of use that as reference here. So when you're trying to find the vertex for this, you're looking for the middle of the pattern. And in this example, we're specifically looking for when numbers like start to repeat in your x values, or sorry, your y values. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that smaller. And again, we'll do that. We'll talk about that when we look at the first example. Minimum, maximum, you just need to ask yourself, is it the biggest y value or the smallest? Okay. And if it's the biggest, it's the maximum, and if it's the smallest, it's the minimum. I'm going to draw an arrow there so that you can connect that since I ran out of room. So I would squeeze that in right there. Okay, your axis of symmetry is going to be the x value from your vertex. Once you find your vertex, you're just going to use that x value for your axis of symmetry. Your range is going to be the y value from your vertex. And then you need to remember that it's going to be either greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, and that will depend on your minimum or maximum. So I'm going to add that in there so we don't forget. So we're going to use greater than, that's not what I wanted, greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. So just remember you need to have an inequality there. Your x-intercept is going to be in the form 0, comma, something. And sorry, your y-intercept, your x-intercept is going to be in the form something, comma, 0. And it is likely that you will have 2 x-intercepts. You will only ever have 1 y-intercept. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that for this next example. Sorry, I moved kind of fast. Go ahead and write that down. Okay, we're going to do that for the next example. When I look at this, I notice that my y values go from -3 to 0 to 1 and then back to 0. So this is the middle of that pattern there. So it goes, it kind of reverses the order there. So that tells me that that is my vertex. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and fill in everything that I need for my vertex. My axis of symmetry is -4. My range is going to use that 1, and I'm just going to put that there for now. We need to ask ourselves, is this the biggest y value or the smallest? And I know that 1 is bigger than negative numbers, so that is the maximum. So instead of just using a 1 for my range, I'm actually going to say y is less than or equal to 1, because all the other numbers in my table are smaller than that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. Oops. Okay. Domain is always all real numbers, so you don't have to worry about that. You can fill that in without even looking at it. Okay, and then for our x-intercepts, we're going to go ahead and find where our y is 0. So there's 1 there and 1 there. So 2, -5, 0, and -3, 0. And then for our y-intercept, I'm actually going to continue my table because I need to get to a 0 here. So -1, and then that, and then 0. Actually, I'm not going to have you do that. It's not in the table, so we're going to forget that one there. Okay. Next one. Pattern 4, -2, -4, -2, 4. So we're looking here. So where my pattern starts to repeat. So we have -1, -4. Axis of symmetry is x equals -1. Domain is always all real numbers. And then I want to see if this is going to be a minimum or maximum because that will help me with my range. So -4 is actually the smallest number on my list, so that's a minimum. And that means when I do my range, I'm going to say y is always greater than or equal to than -4. My x-intercepts are a little trickier here, but my y-intercept is not. So my y-intercept, I have that 0, -2. And then my x-intercept is going to be like in the middle of the 0 and the 1, because I know that 0 here is between -2 and 4. So I'm going to kind of approximate that. I'm going to say it's at 0.5. Just because I know it's between 0 and 1 somewhere there. And then I also know that it's between -2 and -3. So I'm going to say -2.5. Okay, and that's just because there aren't any zeros, but I do know that 0 fits in between -2 and 4. That's all you're doing today. Any questions? Do not hesitate to ask. Otherwise, have a great day.